Welcome to Ignite Your Voice, the webinar where we are going to go over just a ton of information on voice and how that's impacting assistance, how that's impacting voice search, and really everything that kind of falls in line around that. So I've got some amazing speakers here today and some great stuff to cover, so really excited about that. First, if we haven't had a chance to meet, my name's John Lincoln and I'm CEO at Ignite Visibility. I've been doing digital marketing for over a decade now, about 16 years or so, and I absolutely love this stuff. It's kind of my passion. I love helping business owners go into competitive markets and grow their business. And it's just a very full circle fun thing for me where I get to help others through my skill set. Our company, we're about 70 employees here in San Diego, California, about 150 clients. You see some of our bigger clients down there. And, it's just something that I really love to do and excited to talk to you guys today about voice and how that's really going to be impacting everything that we do within the web as things evolve. Also today, I've got some amazing speakers here with me and partners. The first one is Lex Veen, who is EVP of Partnerships at Uberall. Lex, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself and Uberall?
Absolutely, I'm glad to, John. Thanks so much for the invitation. Hi all, great to be here. I'm Lex Veen, citizen of Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Joined 8 months ago as EVP Partnerships at Uberall, a Berlin-based technology company, after it had acquired my company, which I founded 10 years ago, which was a location management company called Navads, strong in the US market and across Europe. The combined entity resulted into what Uberall is today. Again, a Berlin-based technology company. We service around 1,500 partners globally. We manage around over 1 million listings today, and employ approximately 275 people across 6 offices around the world. And I'm currently joining from our San Francisco-based office. Pleased to be part of this great webinar, John. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Yex. And Uberall, I would give that a strong endorsement. We've been using it for ourselves, a lot of clients, and just a great platform for a lot of different reasons, which we can talk about later. Andrew Bressers is also on, and Andrew is the Vice President of Sales at Shopper Approved, another really cool, large tech platform around the review space. Andrew, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you, John, for having me. Appreciate it. Definitely excited about this. Voice is really cool. Reviews is a great space to be in because the user-generated content is adding a lot of value to that online experience for customers and for people just in general. Shopper Approved, a little bit about us. We've been around since 2010, headquartered in Ogden, Utah, and I actually run our sales office out of Orlando, Florida. So I missed the snow that they're getting this week, but that's okay with me. Look forward to learning more from both John and Lex as we go through this. I know they've got some great stuff.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. I've got about 20 minutes on intro to voice, and it's going to get very interesting for a lot of people who, I was even talking to a good friend this morning, and he's a developer, and he was really unaware of a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be covering today. So I'm going to cover the SEO portion a little bit, and I'm going to cover how all that works with the assistant, with rich snippets and all that type of stuff, rich results. But I'm also going to get into the assistants and how they work with devices and some really interesting things kind of around that. So I'm going to try to tee things up and kind of show the overarching space. After that, we're going to see some deeper dives from our speakers. So Lex, do you want to talk briefly about what you're going to be going into?
Yeah, absolutely, John. So obviously the topic of today is voice and voice-enabled search. And as a location marketing platform, globally operating location marketing platform, we want to touch upon voice search for local businesses. And basically what I'm going to present today is a very extensive quantitative research we've been doing at Uberall amongst our customer base, and share with you basically some of the key results we have identified in order to optimize a location, a business location, to be basically voice search ready. and we are applying a ranking factor there for for a business to qualify as being voice search ready. And I'm excited to share some of the results of that report during this webinar.
Absolutely, and I've seen the deck, some awesome data. I was really blown away by a lot of it. So any type of local business, which every business does have some local implications, is going to get something out of that presentation. In addition to that, Andrew, briefly, what are you going to be covering today?
I'm really going to focus on just how reviews do play into voice search. You know, Yelp is kind of the big name in reviews, and they've partnered with sort of the biggest piece of that voice search through Amazon and through Alexa. That you know, they're definitely weighing in on when people are asking for certain bits of information. Those reviews are weighing in on the results that are coming back. So it's going to be hard to ignore reviews, and there's some pretty simple things you can do to get more out of your existing customers to make sure that you bolster up your review volume and get a lot of that UGC to benefit you in ranking and search.
I love that. Simple tricks with big impacts. All right, so a quick poll to start, everybody. Comment yes, and there's a chat feature on inside of GoToMeeting. I want you to comment yes or no if you used voice search 3 years ago. Go ahead and give me a comment in the chat feature, yes or no. Of course, Lex used it 3 years ago. Now, for the rest of you, I'm guessing a lot of you are thinking no. I'd like to hear yes or no if you use voice search today. And if you don't want to comment, I want you just to think about that in your head, okay? Are you using this today? Were you using it 3 years ago? And then comment yes or no if you think voice-activated devices are going to grow in the next 3 years. And let's just go ahead and dive into this, because really, as of January 2018, there were an estimated 1 billion voice searches per month. And by 2020, it's predicted that 50% of searches are going to be done by voice. And that's because they're inside of our phones, our cars, our watches, our living rooms, our kitchens. These assistants are everywhere. And 40% of adults are now using voice search once per day. And voice commerce was a $1.8 billion with a B dollar retail segment in the US in 2017. And 72% of people who own a voice activated speaker say they use their devices as part of their daily routine. So it's really taking off, but this is one important thing I want everybody to understand. There's voice search, and then there's voice actions. These are two different things. So voice actions make technology do something. Voice search returns data, okay? And in this presentation, I want everybody to be aware of actions, but I'm also going to get into voice search as well, and that is what Lex and Andrew are going to be covering quite a bit more. So first, it's about more than marketing, right? This is Robbie. Robbie is somebody who is handicapped. And Google, the Google Assistant, has been able to really improve the quality of his life, because the Google Assistant controls his bed, it controls, the things within the room. He's able to go, okay, Google, and have it positively impact his life by controlling the things within his room. Okay, so that's a very big thing to keep in mind, is that these devices are connected to everything we do. It's much more than search, but we're going to get into search as well. So how do we use voice search for marketing and business? Well, the first thing you want to do is determine a business goal, and then choose the assistant or searches with the biggest potential return, and then develop a system to integrate with it. So take a look at this slide. You've got the Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, Apple Siri, and Cortana. These are the brains, right? Think of that as the brain that impacts these devices, because that's an important concept. So what we want to think about as marketers is, how do we get our products and our services or messaging or branding inside of each one of these? And it works a little bit like this. So with Google, you've got the assistant, and you have something called Google Actions. And basically, Google Actions are like little apps that work within Google, and they import information from local, from general information, from all across, Google properties. Then you've got Amazon Alexa, which pulls from Alexa skills. Alexa skills are something that you install inside of Amazon Alexa, and then they allow you to do certain types of functionality. And then you have Apple Siri, and Siri has Siri Kit, and inside of Siri Kit, there's something called shortcuts that allow apps to connect to Siri. So these are, think about it like this. Think about it like a website or an app that you're building that actually works within these assistants and allows you to market within these assistants. Okay. Then you've got Microsoft Cortana, which actually pulls from the Alexa assistant. So the Alexa assistant works with Cortana. And when you think about partnerships, it works a little bit like this. So Siri is connected to Apple Maps and Yelp. Google Assistant is connected to Google My Business and all Google properties. Amazon Alexa is connected to Yelp, and it's also connected to Amazon, of course, right? And it's also connected to Bing. Bing is the default search engine. And then you've got Cortana, which pulls from Amazon, is connected to Bing and Yelp and others. And all of these assistants infiltrate our phones, our tablets, our computers, our home voice assistants, and all these other things that you see up here, okay? So this is the new world, people. This is the new world. These are what's in our phones, in our devices, and as marketers, we always want to stay ahead of the curve and know how we work with these platforms. So let's get into Amazon a little bit. So Amazon now has over 30,000 skills, okay? So these are basically apps that work inside of Amazon, and there's pre-built templates. You could go in there and set one up right now for your business. And then when somebody's interacting with Alexa, you can have a way to interact with them in there. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, there are skills for health and fitness, for kids, for lifestyle, for local, for movies, for shopping, for all different types of genres, right? So Amazon has these skills. You have the ability to build them. Then people would install them, and then it affects the functionality on that device. And there's ways that you can actually optimize for Amazon search now. So Amazon uses Bing, right, as the default search engine. So you're going to want to be in Bing. You're going to want to be in the local area of Bing. You're going to want to make sure your website is within Bing Webmaster Tools. You're going to want to make sure that you're getting ranked in Bing and all of that good stuff. In addition to that, if you're within the Amazon Choice program, there's more of a chance that they're going to serve your information. And also, if you're available via Prime or FBA, or if you have great reviews, a good price, and a great rating, that's going to make it so that you're recommended on the product level by Amazon. On the information level, think about it like this. On the information level, it's Bing. It's also skills, right? On the product level, it's all the kind of general factors that matter for ranking within Amazon, okay? Now, Apple, let's dive into that. So Apple was the first, and it came out with Siri back in 2011, right? And Siri was the first assistant, but now they have Siri shortcuts. And so a Siri shortcut is a way to basically connect your app to Siri. So if your demographic is there, you're going to want to find a way to connect your app to Siri so that people can interact with Siri and pull information from your app from this massive, massive app store. All right, so now let's get into Google. And Google is going to be the meat of this presentation. And this is really what we care the most about, okay? So basically, Google Assistant, it's the voice on the other end of your device, right? So if you say, hey, Google, that's going to interact with the assistant. And this can pull information from search results, pull information from other websites or Google assets from around the web, and it can perform actions, right, based off of Google Actions. And these are basically made within the Google Actions console. So like there's Google Search Console for SEO. There's now a Google Actions console, and that's made with something called Dialogflow, okay? And I know this all sounds kind of confusing the first time, but you've got this Google Actions console. That's where you build your app. And then Dialogflow is basically the way that you architect the app, right? Dialogflow says, you know, if you say, hey, Google, or okay, Google, talk to Ignite Visibility, Dialogflow is how you basically show how to talk to the assistant. So this is an example, Fun Tricks by Google. So if you say, okay, Google, and feel free to try this on your phone right now if you want. if you're on Google or on Android, give me a haiku. It's going to give you a haiku. Okay, Google, what am I thinking right now? It's going to tell you something. If I say, okay, Google, sing me a song, it will sing you a song. And that's all because it's being pulled from this action right here. Okay? So these are the prompts that come from it. And so think about this for your brand. Think about this as a marketer, right? What can be the name of your action? What would be the prompts? And how can you use this as you move into the future? And there's over 1 million Google actions now. So they're really taking off. And a lot of people are connecting their apps, they're connecting their websites. What's the data that you want to get inside of Google? And how can you take what you already have and that's already been successful and bring that to this Google environment? The Google Assistant controls over 2,000 home devices at this point too. And that's from that action perspective, right? So what they're seeing is quick answers to questions, travel information, news, fun things that you can do. These type of things do really well inside the Assistant. Now, there's also this Home Hub, and this is kind of a game changer because there's been over 52 million of these sold already, and the Home Hub is a Google product. So where do you think it pulls information from? Well, it pulls information from Google, of course, but also from YouTube. And this is really, really important because YouTube, the second biggest search engine in the world, now is in 52 million homes and growing. And if you don't have a YouTube strategy, then you're not going to be showing up really well in this device. You've probably seen a lot of my stuff on YouTube lately. It's very important, I believe, for businesses to have this type of video strategy, but also Google Photos, calendars, maps, all these things are directly connected to the new Google Home Hub. All right, so we talked about actions, we talked about devices. Now let's get into voice search. And I'm just going to touch on it a little bit, but I can't wait to hear what Lex has to say, what Andrew has to say. These guys have some additional great information on voice search, but let me give you my spin on a couple things, okay? So with traditional search, it's keyword focused. So best tacos in Austin, for example. There's pages of results, any type of information, but for voice search, it's longer and more conversational. Where can I find the best tacos near me? Users want quick answers, and they're typically only read via voice. And 22% of people are trying to find local information. And mobile voice-related searches are 3 times more likely to be local-based than text, okay? So a lot of local going on there, which is why it's great we have Uberall on the line. And when you're optimizing for voice search, you really want to be thinking about how can you create rich results. And rich results are when you see that little bit of text at the top of Google. And what happens is that gets responded to through the Google Assistant. So if I say, okay, Google, tell me about something, and there's not an action for it, it just pulls from the rich result or somewhere within Google. So what you want to do is basically use tools like Answer the Public or SEMrush to find all of the different questions that are asked in your space. So as you can see here, this is the keyword SEO. These are all the questions asked around SEO, and we've done quite a bit of this. And basically answering those on your website. And if you're ranked kind of towards the top of Google, you're up there, what's going to happen is that'll get pulled out as a rich result and then shown in the Assistant. So you want to focus on long tail keywords and phrases. You want to implement local SEO. That's so important for showing up because otherwise it's going to be your competitor, right? You want to make sure within your local SEO, you're talking about landmarks, events, all these things that are right in that area that make that copy hyper local, right? That's a really important part of local strategy. I've worked with a lot of local companies, making it hyper local, not general text, great text, using schema markup, location extensions, call extensions. You've got your review markup in there, your review schema as well, and you're incorporating direct questions and answers to your copy. And if you haven't seen this before, this is a rich result. This is one that we have. So if you say, okay, Google, why native advertising? It'll say, here's the top result. And then you get this image from us, and then you have this nice little rich result, and then you see our blog post. And this is actually what gets read back to the Assistant. Another cool thing you can do is you can go inside of SEMrush and put in yourself or your competitor, and you can click on the featured snippets tab, And then it's going to show you all the featured snippets that you have and your competitor has. And think about that. That's a great way to reverse engineer yourself and your competitors for what's showing up for featured snippets. I feel like this is really important too. It's the length, right? So we're seeing that 40 to 50 characters, direct response, word count, 40 to 50 words, direct response to questions. That's what's getting pulled out the most for these rich results. So that's important. You want to make sure you have the right word count, because look how fast it drops off, right, when you go too long. So that's a really important thing. When you're thinking about structuring content, like for some of our clients, we might write 200 pages of content a month here, right? So it's very important we structure the content in a way that works for voice, right? And so that's something I've been thinking about a lot. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. But in general, it's important to think about how you're doing those templates at scale. And if you want to learn more facts on rich results, there's a great article I wrote on Search Engine Land, and then also a blog post on Ignite Visibility that breaks down all the rich results by industry, and you can find those URLs right there. By the way, this presentation will be emailed to you. Now this is cool, and I had to get into this just a little bit, but this is the first ad that was ever served within voice search. So is this a landmark? Will people be talking about this in the future, you know, like a historical event? I don't know, probably not. But that being said, if you see here, this is the first ad that was served. So somebody said, okay, Google, talk to 4-week MBA, right? And it says this came back from search, and this is the first AdWords ad, Google Ads ad that was served. So we're starting to see ads show up, right? So this is not just impacting development, app environments, and SEO. This is now impacting advertising as well. So you can be sure Google is going to be trying to find ways to monetize this, just like they do everything, right? So a couple of my final thoughts, and then I'm going to be handing this over to Lex. A couple final thoughts, and then kind of one teaser thing. So voice search and actions are taking off. Voice assistants and devices, are going to have a big return for people who get in early. But I just recommend everybody find easy ways to get integrated with them. What's the existing content that you have that you can build into Dialogflow and to a Google Action so that you can be in there and be first to market? And then, of course, the metrics that you set are going to be dependent on that content, right? And then you're going to want to review what's working, and then you're going to want to build on that. And then it's very, very important for everybody right now to work on getting rich results for your SEO. So if you are, doing a large content program, and if you're an Ignite client and you're listening to this right now, don't worry. We have something in beta right now that's going to be rolled out soon. But the way that we're structuring this content, we're going to be rolling it out to all our clients just to make sure that they have these rich results or are in a good place to do that, okay? So our system is called Voice Velocity. And it is a new beta system that's going to allow us to get inside of voice for clients. And it's really meant for creating rich results, any business that wants to get their data inside of the assistant, and we're going to be measuring it by the number of rich results generated. So if you're a Ignite client, be excited. That's coming within the next probably 30 to 60 days. And we're working on it with a couple clients right now, just two, just to make sure that it's a good proof of concept. So now I'm even more excited to bring up our next speaker, who is Lex. And Lex, I'm going to go ahead and give the keyboard and mouse to you at this time so that you can take over and you can start sharing your presentation with us and walking us through the items that you have for today. Lex, are you there?
Still there, John. Thank you so much for these great insights. And let's kick my part off. Perfect. Just setting up the deck. I don't think I'm a presenter yet, John.
There you go.
Great. I think it all works now, right? Perfect.
Yeah, it's looking good on my end.
All right, good. So I think I just shortly introduced myself already. I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about Uberall. Again, Berlin-based technology company, most dominantly in location marketing. We have a platform which in its core basically manages business location data and all the rich attributes around that for distribution to all the major search engines. So basically we are a distribution platform for location data towards the Googles, Facebooks, Apple, Waze, and all the apps in order to make sure that your business location data can actually is universally distributed across the web. Now, obviously, that listing management platform is the basis of where Uberall started, but it increasingly becomes what I would refer to as a customer engagement platform. Obviously, managing over 1 million locations globally, we have seen an increased demand for, I would say, engagement, which can be which provides us with location data as a core, and obviously provides modules to engage further with as an SMB or as an enterprise customer with your consumers searching for your business. That means we have a review management platform capability. We obviously provide Q&A, so all from a central database and a central platform. You can actually manage the engagement with your as a brand with your customers. So what we it includes review management, and obviously in the near future what we see is to drive commerce through through conversation, and most dominantly through voice. So that's actually what the near future should be bringing, and our platform is basically optimized for servicing business or SMBs and enterprises to accommodate for that increased level of engagement with customers. So that's about Uberall, and basically what we wanted to cover today is to kind of demystify voice search. We've heard a lot around voice search, and as to John's great presentation, we see that obviously there's an increasing use of voice search. So we wanted to first of all kind of demystify it by kind of drilling down to what is actually voice search and how is it actually different than normal organic search as we know it today. So obviously it's more complex, right? Human-like search basically triggers more, requires more, it includes more conversation, and it actually requires search engine algorithms to have much more contextual information in a structured way in order to serve up the best answer. So that basically is a task for us as an industry in order to accommodate businesses to optimize for voice search. And obviously voice search is, as per John's point, there's 3 times more local type of search requests, which makes it more and more important for a local business to actually curate its data, optimize it for voice search readiness. So obviously there's a lot of hype around voice search. We've seen a lot of different qualitative statements, as I would refer to them. One of the recent ones is that Google says that 20% of all the mobile searches are actually conducted through voice today. Assuming Google has around 90% of the mobile search market share in the United States, it's very, very significant, and the development is very significant there. Now, also a good example is the often heard prediction that about 50% of all searches will be voice enabled by actually next year, by 2020. We kind of dug into that and found out that this statement was actually released by Baidu. Many of you probably know that it's a the Chinese company. Voice is really, really big there, and the prediction was made about 10 years ago that 50% of voice or search was voice empowered by 2020. Now, current data doesn't show that it's actually going to be 50% in just 12 months from now, but we can safely assume that it's actually is growing very, very significantly. And already more than 20% of the people in the United States are actually using voice search at least once per week, as per our study results, which I'll show to you later. So many, again, as I mentioned, make very qualitative statements with no or actually limited data. And that's why Uberall took on this topic. And as we are a data-driven company managing over 1 million locations, we wanted to actually enrich this discussion with a more comprehensive and analytical perspective around that. And that's what I love to share with you today. Obviously, voice search, when a consumer initiates a command, the query will typically in what we call ambient search, and if there's no screen associated to it, it only actually returns one result at a time. So that creates a unique opportunity for any business to show up above your competitors. And it's actually a place where an SMB, a small business, can actually win over a global brand, for instance, if it optimizes for voice search readiness, so to say. That basically led us to conducting a detailed quantitative study across our database of clients. So what did we do? We kind of took a sample of 73,000 businesses in the Boston metro area. Basically, that's a demographically representative market in many aspects in terms of age distribution, etc., and ethnic mixture, demographics. It's very representative. In addition, out of the 73,000 businesses, we took a distributed portion of SMBs, mid-market, and enterprise type of locations. With the purpose, of course, to start studying and create a score which basically would indicate how ready a business is for voice search. So what does it mean to be voice search ready? So industry experts have been advocating voice search optimization for some time without providing a universal or standard way of analyzing voice search readiness for easy adoption and action, basically. So several attempts have been made to provide comprehensive voice search ranking factors, but there's no concrete parameters of definition that are widely accepted. And we wanted to take a shot at that, basically, through this initial research we've done. So because of this, we basically set out to define voice search readiness with a percentage-based grading system that analyzes the business and how optimized it is for its online presence or its voice search readiness. So this way, a business can see if they are optimized for local voice search queries and understand the exact problems they need to address. So when a user searches for business information in their area, for instance, accuracy of business information across certain key directories is vital. And that will actually determine whether the business is recommended in those search results. So the goal with this, what we call VSR, Voice Search Readiness project, has always been to develop a method businesses could use very actionably to benchmark their voice search optimization efforts. So there's no universal voice standard, as I mentioned, and we kind of took a first shot at developing a way to measure voice search readiness, VSR. I'll refer to VSR later on, and visualize that in a way that businesses could easily understand. So as I pointed out earlier, there's a lot of qualitative statements made, and one of the first results we did across that large database of 73,000 businesses is that you see that basically only 20%, or today 20% of the US population are actually frequently using voice search. What does frequently mean? That's actually at least once per week. So that's basically the base. It's actually that this was done across 1,000 businesses or consumers during our study. All right, so the data science team, what do we do? We had to identify these directories and basically the key factors ranking, which rank for voice search readiness or optimization. So we took, on the one hand, a percentage weight for directories, based on which directories are most important for feeding voice search platforms. So we did a detailed study around that, which search engines actually dominate for voice answers. Additionally, we took a weight for business information. So basically the attributes around a business. Based on the listing information that's most important to have accurate, to feed the right answers to any type of voice-based query. Well, so by assigning this value to each data point, including important business attributes, we've identified the importance for voice search readiness, and when we created a way to calculate the voice search score from 1 to 100%, basically, for each and every business in our pool of analysis. So our value engineers identified basically 37 directories that directly fed voice search platforms. So basically the essential directories for to basically have your business listing data as accurately as possible and as rich as possible distributed. And basically, according to these experts, our Google, Yelp, and Veen comprise about 90% of our voice search readiness score. So the other from the 37 directories, the other 33 basically grouped together and comprise approximately only 10% of that full optimization score. With Google, Yelp, and the most neglected one, or probably the one you would assume would be irrelevant, and it turns out to be in the top 3 of relevancies, is Bing. So it was a great highlight or finding, basically. Additionally, as I mentioned, we were going to look into the pieces of business information which are most relevant for to have optimized. So what kind of business information do we actually need to have in order to be voice search ready? So we discovered a trend where the NAP and the website are still very, very important, but we also found that opening hours are a vital piece of to power voice search engines. So we're very, very important. So basically, taking the 73,000 businesses across 37 platforms actually gave us a pool of approximately 2.1 million possible attributes for each business information type. And we were able to identify the categories of business information that were missing most frequently. So quite astonishingly, opening hours or almost 50% of all locations or listings are incorrect or missing. So that's quite significant, and also creates for you as probably digital agencies servicing either enterprise or SMB clients, create an instant opportunity to help your customer base getting this right. So in the end, we came up with what we call the VSR score. So this is a view where all the VSR scores set from the sample. And you can see that the highest frequency of the lowest score was around 0 to 4%. And that we also further identified that SMBs, they fall short most of the time. Where we show the distribution of VSR scores to be averaging 44% of readiness. Customers in our database, so basically where the listing is actively managed by the Uberall platform, are actually at 96%. So these are challenges at huge scale, and basically it confirms that you need a partner who can handle that scale and to solve this for your clients or your SMB clients. Whereby basically the acceptable ranking factor ought to be 90%. So we said, 90% will be considered acceptable. But a lot of the businesses, and most of the businesses, are actually not there yet. So this is a huge opportunity for businesses to stand out against their local competitors, and for you as a potential Uberall partner or a current Uberall partner to help them make this happen. So this is some interesting insights, whereby you see that, as I just referred to, SMBs are generally less prepared because they tend to do it on their own. And that creates yet another opportunity to step in as a trusted partner to help them out here. Most businesses are SMBs, of course. There's about 120 million SMB businesses across the globe. So there's a humongous potential there, with approximately 30 million in the United States. And basically what you see that most businesses in our analysis found that only a quarter of the voice search ready businesses are actually, like 24.6% as you see here, are actually SMBs. This is because they often try to do it themselves. So again, great opportunity, and I would say collectively as an industry, let's help them to get voice search ready. And additional insights, what you see here as part of the results out of this large study, is that only 4% of business locations overall have correct information on these 3 major directories most dominant for voice search readiness. Approximately 93% of enterprise locations have a perfect score currently, who actually have a current score, or who have a perfect score, actually employ an external supplier. Yeah? As you see on the right-hand side of this graph, that enterprises employ having a third party to manage their location data actually score highest. And that means that also only 6% 6.9%, near to 7% of these enterprise locations are achieving perfect VSR scores, voice search readiness scores, when they do it alone. Big, confronting number, basically, again, stipulating the opportunity in this market. So the bigger the company, the more important a location management provider is also what this report actually concludes. And just to confirm, current customers on the Uberall platform actually comprise have an average 96% VSR score. 75% of VSR-ready business locations belong to the mid-market and the enterprise segment. So it should not be as difficult for SMBs to achieve a perfect VSR score as it is actually for a mid-market or a larger enterprise-type customer, because they only have one location to manage. But our findings show that they are actually the least likely to be voice search ready. So serving the SMB market, I think, is completely confirming that opportunity for the audience here today to service that market of SMBs and helping them out to become voice search ready. So these were some of the most compelling results out of this initial study we've done, trying to get to be the first company to really do a quantitative research around voice search readiness. And again, we basically open this study up to the market as well, right? It's a first shot. It's not perfect, but I think it's the first approach to a quantitative approach around voice search readiness with the objective to really kind of demystify what needs to be, anything around voice search, and how can we really truly help a business or an SMB to become voice search ready. Again, we'd love to entertain dialogue with this audience, with digital agencies to take this opportunity. Because if you look at the opportunity here, again, I just highlighted it. There's 120 million SMBs out there, and all listing providers combined, is our industry of location marketing platforms actually cover less than 10% of that. So it creates an opportunity. You see, there's approximately 30 million SMB businesses out there just in North America, and we'd love to entertain dialogue with you on how we can collectively service that industry to get everybody ready for the future of search, namely voice search. John, I think that's it for my part. Obviously, as John also mentioned, all the reports, as well as the full voice search readiness report, can be made available to you, and you'll all be receiving a download link to get the full report, which is a 40-page report. Thank you, John.
And everybody, I highly recommend. Thanks so much, Lex. I highly recommend you check that out. I can't tell you how many times I go to a business and they've got the wrong phone number, they've got the wrong hours, there's probably some stuff that's messed up, right? So Uberall and us together, we work on, we've got this local maximizer system. We have a lot of location-based clients, and just making sure that all that stuff's dialed in for you. Lex, that was a really insightful presentation. Thank you so much. Lex is really an industry veteran, everyone, and it's just a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for putting that data together for us. So to kind of conclude today, now we have Andrew coming up, and just to kind of reiterate, Andrew, who I've just made the presenter, is with Shopper Approved, which is one of the biggest review platforms out there, right? They've got APIs with the biggest companies out there, and they're a pretty impressive company, and really have the ability to find ways to generate massive amounts of reviews. I'm talking like, how when you have reviews, you're like, oh, I got 5 reviews, I got 10 reviews. And for some of these clients that they have the ability to generate hundreds or thousands of reviews through their platform. And the way that they do it is they set it up so that it's like at a certain point within the customer journey, the review gets triggered. And so he could tell you more about that, but really what he's going to do today, which is a little bit of a challenging topic, is talk about how reviews work with voice, right? And to be honest, I researched this with him. There's not a lot of data on it yet, but Andrew's got some good stuff to go over, and his part of the presentation is going to be about 10 minutes or so. And Andrew, why don't you go ahead and take us away?
Sure. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Definitely some great information so far. So as John mentioned, Shopper Approved, we do really cover the review spectrum, everything from syndicated reviews that help you get stars in your paid ads if you're doing online marketing, as well as down into that local level, really trying to get reviews out there, get your customers' voice out in front of future and potential customers, so you can get in front of the people when you need to most. Voice is really exciting right now. There's definitely a lot of opportunity to take that written content from your customers and get it found and really get others to read more about you and learn more about you. Yelp really, I mean, they're kind of the big passive review player out there. They accept reviews from anyone, necessarily, and they have sort of their algorithm built in, but they're not soliciting those reviews. Generally, if someone wants to leave a review on Yelp, they'll go and find them and do it of their own accord. Oftentimes, if you're not encouraging customers to go to places like Yelp or your Google Business Certificate, you tend to get skewed more towards the negative. The angrier folks are the ones who tend to have the loudest voices. So it's important really to get out and encourage your customers to go and talk about their experience with you, because most of them probably had some good experiences. Our customers call us every day with concerns about passive review sites they have no control over, and there's a lot of little things we help them do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and just how you can kind of encourage your customers to get to the places where it matters most. So really the important thing is to ask, and John mentioned it, when your customers are happiest is the best time to ask them for a review. I've worked in sales my whole life, and it's kind of ingrained in me that when someone tells me thank you, that's when I ask for something. That's that moment when you've helped them out. And that's really the same way with your customers. When you've provided the level of service or you provided the product that they expect, just ask them, would you mind leaving some feedback on Yelp? Would you mind leaving some feedback on our Google certificate? Make it as easy for them to get there as possible as well. So here's how you do that. And then actually, first step, John or Lex really kind of hit on this. Those listings are so important. When Google is searching, confidence is what matters to Google. So if they're confident your business is where it's supposed to be, physically, located, you're going to rank higher. If your different listings and different directories all match, even down to the phone number level, it needs to be the same. The formatting of the phone number, everything needs to be the same. That's going to have a big impact on getting found more often. So having review content is great, but if Google, Yelp, Facebook, Bing, they don't know that you're the same business you say you are, that review content's not going to connect, and you're going to be harder to be found. So there are a lot of really good systems out there. Definitely look into Uberall if you want to make sure all those listings are aligned properly. Definitely going to make a big, big difference. But once you've got that up to date, every business is a little bit different. Whatever information you do collect contact-wise from your customers, try to use that to encourage them to get out and actually leave reviews for you, leave some feedback for you on those passive review sites that are out there. The most effective way that we find really at this point is via SMS. People respond to text messages very, very well. Emails get ignored pretty regularly. Print media kind of just becomes background noise, but if that's what you have, then utilize that. If you do get email addresses, feel free to send emails to customers and encourage them to go to those different sites and leave the reviews. You can put signs up in your stores, especially if you have a Yelp certificate. At a minimum, put a sign up, find us on Yelp. People will go do that every once in a while. You just have to remind them that it's there. I have seen great success putting it on receipt. Some businesses will offer the chance to win a prize or even a discount on their next visit or maybe a free sandwich. That does help get a lot more responses. And then kind of pick, really focus your energy and target those directories. Don't just pick one. To be honest, Yelp is important as Yelp is. It's probably the hardest place to get reviews that are going to be considered recommended by Yelp's algorithm. So you definitely want to get as many of your customers to try to go do that of their own free will. We have tried with customers to send links to Yelp that used to be sort of an allowed practice. Yelp sort of shut that down. So if they do think you're doing that, they tend to start burying your reviews. So just be careful with that one in particular. But most other passive review sites, they're not too much against you sending your customers there. There are a number of platforms that have sprung up in the last few years that will help you do that. A lot of times they'll tie right into your POS system and send a text out some point after someone's come in and made a purchase from you that asks them to go leave a review. Google and Facebook both have APIs that a number of review companies like us can tie right into. So it's very, very simple. They click a link in a text and they go ahead and leave a review, and that would get published for you and count towards your your review count on those different platforms. And then once you start to get some reviews, make sure that you've claimed all those directories and you actually go and respond to them. Businesses that respond to reviews do rank better. Again, it's that confidence score. Google's more confident you're a real business if a real human is going in and actually responding to those written reviews. The other thing is just not necessarily from a voice search perspective, but once customers are considering purchasing from you, if they are reading your reviews, those responses are great. Definitely don't skip any negative reviews. Always write something back. You got to give some context to what maybe happened. Give your side of the story. And the positive reviews are great to just say thank you to. It humanizes you as a business, and gets people more likely to consider coming in and completing that transaction with you rather than someone down the street. So again, I love talking about reviews. I'm the kind of person who really dives into anything that I'm doing. So if anyone out there does want to have a chat about reviews or any review strategy, I'm always open to that. Feel free to shoot me an email anytime. But other than that, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And John, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew. Great job. Great job, Andrew. Great job, Lex. So excited about Uberall. These review. I actually was just talking to somebody about review generation just a moment ago, just before the call. So Uberall shopper approved, this voice velocity. It's an exciting time, right? There's a lot going on. I've got some really interesting Q&A that has come in. So let's go ahead and dive into that, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this webinar. So the first question that came in was, can you look at search volume for specific Google action queries to see which ones you should target? And I believe you can. So inside of Google Search Console, now they're starting to have an area that shows searches that are specific to that area. So there's some documentation that came out on that. I believe I'm with 70%, sure on that within the last couple months. So see if you could dig that up. I believe there was an article reported on that in Search Engine Land from John Bueller. Next question is, and by the way, if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and leave that in the questions area or the chat area, and I'll be happy to respond to it. But the next question is, what is the future of voice search? Where do you see it going in 2 to 3 years? Lex, you want to try to take a stab at that one?
Oh, yeah, sure. Happy to, John. Well, I think I slightly addressed that. And I think, in terms of commercial business opportunity, what you see is that conversational commerce platforms, which are amongst our partners, are actually becoming increasingly relevant, right? So it's basically, with the purpose of driving commerce through conversation. So first of all, what you see is that, there's current search today, which will be most likely, and you see some initial developments there already to tie information up to the SKU data, stock keeping unit data, in order to make sure that you can answer a question that, like, if you're looking for this, particular shoes in your size, that you find a shoe store who actually have that shoe in your size at a moment in time, just to make it more and more relevant. I think that's the first development you see, which is not necessarily related to voice search, but driving commerce through conversation is what you see you see that with Google's RCS platform. You see obviously Apple big development around business chat, all catering towards voice. Well, not only voice search, but also for voice conversation. most dominantly powered through chatbot technology, and but all related around location data and optimizing that. So I think that is what you will be seeing more and more in the next 2 years.
Hey, John, I'm not sure if you might be on mute.
Oh, I was on mute. I was going on a tangent there. What I was saying was that, Lex, I completely agree with you 100%, and that was like the perfect answer, and that I believe that dialogue flow is going to be the future of the web. And, basically having this one centralized chat area that interacts with your website, Google My Business, Facebook, and that accesses data from a bunch of different areas, like an aggregator or something like an Uberall or an individual site. But this dialogue flow becomes a central piece of kind of the automation chat that then gets handed over to a live human when it's time. So great answer there. And Andrew, the next one I have is for you. So should you respond to every positive review or selectively pick which to respond to? What do you think about like review responses in general? And how do you manage that also if somebody has, hundreds of reviews or a large volume?
Yeah, it really depends on the amount of, labor you could put into it. We have a customer who responds to probably close to 80% of their reviews, and they get a few hundred every day. So it's a bit extreme. That's probably on one end of the spectrum. I wouldn't say you want to go there necessarily, but normally what we do recommend to our customers is to pick the reviews that have written content that you want to highlight. Because when you do respond as a business, those are the reviews, especially the positive ones, that are more likely to get read. Because if people are scrolling through a review feed, the more text is, that's going to catch their eye. And then when they see the business's response, it kind of triggers them to say, well, what was the question or what was the comment that, this business thought was worth responding to? But every business obviously would be different. I definitely do recommend respond to as many of the negative reviews as possible, just because those ones, tend to be where everyone looks first. People, when they want to read about you, they want to read what you've done wrong. So if you've responded to what had gone wrong and either apologized or explained the situation further, that definitely helps with context. But the good reviews, really depends on what you can handle. I would never want to get you kind of buried in there, because if you respond to every single one, it would become almost too much, I think, sometimes, and then it just becomes expected, and when you do miss one, someone's going to feel left out.
Awesome. Thanks for that response. Next question. How do you use paid search ads with Google, or is it in beta? So it's in beta. Those search ads, there's only been one or two that have been shown so far. But I got to say, I think it's going to be a really, really big thing in general. So Google has these new custom audiences, right? And if you haven't heard about all the new Google audiences, you should really check out the webinar we did not too long ago. It's on the Ignite Visibility YouTube channel, but it's from awareness to consideration to conversion to remarketing. And there's new audiences at every step in the funnel. The most recent one, the custom intent audience. I mean, when they're getting all this voice data, they're going to be bucketing that into audiences and remarketing and great ways to serve ads. So, but to specifically answer your question, there's only been one or two ad sightings so far. So it's not something that people can do, but it does work with the Google local service ads. That much we know, which are a specific Google local service is just kind of a specific part of Google. So that's good to know. So great stuff today, everyone. And the last thing I would say is go check out that cool checklist that Uberall put together. If you have any questions about reviews, you want to check out a good review platform, I highly recommend you check out Uberall. Ignite Visibility clients who are on the line, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate you. We'll be doing an Ignite-only webinar just on voice with specifics, just for our clients, as we do pretty often. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be Alan and I on. Lex, I would like to thank you once again for being on today. You did a great job. Anything else you wanted to end with? Any closing thoughts?
No, other than to greatly thank you for hosting Uberall today. And I thought this was packed with a lot of insightful and actionable information. So thank you for that, John, and setting this up. And a big thanks for all the attendees for joining.
Awesome. Thank you very much for saying that. We appreciate you. And Andrew, any final thoughts on voice or anything in general you want to say to close out today?
Yeah, no, I just want to echo Lex's thanks to you, John. You really did a lot putting this together. You know, a lot of great value. I hope everyone got a lot out of it. And thank you to all the Shopper Approved customers who joined us as well.
Awesome. All right, everybody, go out there, get your voice search going. Keep an eye out for more webinars in the future. Hope this left you excited about voice in the future. And have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.